Hey swimmers, welcome to the Breathe Your Truth YouTube channel, Swim Sets. Now, I know as soon as we start talking about breath work and swimming, everybody's anxiety bumps up a little bit. I understand that, but hear me out. So the reason for doing this work, number one, you're gonna swim faster with less effort. Maybe not immediately while you're doing the work, but eventually and sooner than later. The second reason is you're gonna build resiliency, and I'm talking about chemical resiliency. In other words, resiliency to carbon dioxide building up, which translates to better tolerance to lactic acid. And you're also going to build electrical resiliency. In other words, your nervous system. Literally, within a short period of time, your body's heart rate variability improves, your nervous system becomes more resilient. The last reason, quite honestly, is the one that keeps me coming back. Immediately after doing a workout that is focused on breath work, my breathing is slower, my breathing is lower in my body, and I go on to have a day that's very different than if I had just churned through the water. Maybe I'm happy with the send-off time I held, but I know I kind of trashed myself to hold it, and we pay for that. This is just the opposite of that. Not every workout has to be a breath workout, so what we generally recommend is at least once a week if you're swimming a few times a week. So let me back up a moment. My name is David Depler. I'm founder of Breathe Your Truth, this project dedicated to helping people use the breath to improve health and performance. I was a Division I college swimmer, and my last couple years were pretty lackluster. I now realize I actually had trained myself into a breathing dysfunction, and it turns out I'm not the only one. Many athletes do it, and in fact, I now realize most athletes have trained themselves into breathing dysfunction. I currently work with professional Olympic runners, swimmers, and it's incredibly frequent. Your breath fitness has nothing to do with your overall fitness. And in fact, there is something about leaning in, training, pushing hard, that if we don't know better, will undermine what we're actually doing with our breathing. And here's the cool part, if we back it up and fix that breathing dysfunction, performance bumps up for us. Gains for free. All right, I love that part. All right, so let me tell you just a little bit about what is coming before you in this YouTube channel. I'm going to lay out swim sets that are for warm-up, for main sets, then sets that kind of clean up the show, and then cool down sets. I'm going to make reference to breath fitness score, and I know many of you watching this won't know what your breath fitness score is right away. As you go through this, you're going to find out how to get your breath fitness score. But a little bit about that. I'll give a range of breath fitness score that this workout or this set makes sense. And what you do with that information is not to say, okay, if that's not my breath fitness score, this isn't for me. It's more to say that gives you an idea of how much you'll want to modify. It might be that you make it harder. It might be that you make it easier. You might change the breathing pattern on it. You might change the distance that you're doing. All fair game. What I invite you to do is just get a spirit of what the set is trying to do and then make that work for you. None of this is meant to be terrorism. All right. In other words, this stuff works best when you have many moments during a workout or many moments during a set where you feel in control. Most of the time, what we're doing is just being very conscious of the breath. And then sometimes we'll stretch tolerance to a bit. But that brings me to another really important point, and that is never will there be heroic breath hold efforts. In other words, never are we going for the amount of distance you can do on a breath hold. There is very little to be gained from that. In fact, more of a risk of losing from it. The game we're going to play instead is gently nudging up tolerance to carbon dioxide, gently nudging up exposure to nitric oxide. Two things that over time move performance, move our health. A couple terms that I'm going to throw out. So when we talk about the intensity of a set or the intensity of a swim, we're going to talk about it being easy. I frequently say easy peasy because I really want to emphasize the easy part. And then there's moderate, which is picking the pace up a bit, putting the foot on the gas pedal. Moderate plus, put the foot on the gas pedal a little bit more, but you're still well under control. And then fast means now you're flirting with not in control. And a sprint is you're just plain going for it. Most of what we do is going to be in the moderate to moderate plus with a fair amount of easy sprinkled in there. Next term is the breath category. One of the terms I'll use is base breathing. That means the breathing pattern that's kind of your equilibrium when things are easy. So in other words, Many of you will feel like your base breathing is 2 or 3. In other words, you take 2 strokes to 1 breath, or you take 3 strokes, alternate breathe, to 1 breath. Now, I want to say something about that, a little provocative. It's not likely any of you that your base is actually 2 or 3. It's too low. You've conditioned yourself for that to be your base. But your true base is probably something like a 4 or a 5. I'm convinced that's where most of us actually are. And there are some of us out there that their base is a 7. In other words, if it's a 5, you're taking 5 strokes before you take that breath. The next breath description is challenge. Now, challenge just means we're going up 2. So if your base was 5, now you're at a 7. So frequently we'll do a set where we alternate base with challenge, base with challenge. So it'd be a 5-7 or maybe a 4-6. A challenge plus means we're doing more than that. That might be, if our base is 5, it could be that we're doing a 9, it could be 11, it could be a 13. And yeah, there are ways to do that in the right context that really do make sense and help. Now, we will occasionally throw in a no breather as well, and I'll talk more about how that goes in the context of the set. But even those no breathers are not meant to be heroic breath holds. We'll generally use those in the cleanup sets, and we'll do that as a way to promote efficiency. Because you know, if you swim too slow, you're not going to make it. If you swim too fast, you're not going to make it either. So doing a no breather 25, let's say, is an awesome way to get your body to clean up and to pull back that efficiency. All right, like I said, I'll talk more about that when we get to the context of it falling into a set. So start trying these sets and comment on them. Tell me if that worked well, or you struggled, you didn't understand something, or you just didn't like something. All of that is fair game. Like, share, do all those things that fall into this world. And more importantly, if you want to learn more about it, there's a course we've developed called the Optimal Breathing Blueprint Swim Edition. It's going to give you information on why we're doing this, and it's going to give you a lot more things to try. All right, everyone, most importantly, have fun.